Ava Morgan was halfway down the aisle when the church doors opened behind her. At first, she thought it was just another late guest. Then every face in the church turned pale. A man stood in the doorway wearing a dark suit that did not fit him properly, holding a brown envelope in one hand and a prison release paper in the other. Noah Reed. The man Ava had loved 10 years ago. The man everyone said had stolen from her family, burned down her father's warehouse, and vanished without a word. The man she had spent a decade trying to hate. Her fiancé, Julian, stepped away from the altar as if he had seen a ghost. Noah did not look at the guests. He looked only at Ava. Then he said the sentence that turned her wedding into a scandal. "I'm sorry I'm late, Ava. I just got out this morning." The church fell silent. Noah lifted the envelope. "And before you marry him, you should know why I went to prison for a crime your fiancé committed." Ava Morgan had spent years teaching herself not to think about Noah Reed. She had trained her heart like a dog that kept running toward a closed gate. Every time a song reminded her of him, she turned it off. Every time she passed the old warehouse road, she took another street. Every time someone said his name, she smiled like it no longer hurt. By the morning of her wedding, she believed she had finally succeeded. The church was full of white roses, candles, and people who thought they knew the story of her life. Her father sat in the front row, proud and straight-backed, the way powerful men sit when they know the room still belongs to them. Her fiancé, Julian West, waited at the altar in a black suit, handsome, polished, calm. Julian was everything Noah had never been allowed to become. Safe. Educated. Respected. Accepted by her family. Ava had met Julian when she was 24, only a few months after Noah disappeared. Julian was patient with her sadness. He listened when she cried. He never rushed her into love. He was there when newspapers called Noah a thief, when her father's business nearly collapsed after the warehouse fire, and when Ava learned that the man she once planned to marry had confessed and taken a prison sentence without even asking to see her. That was the part that had broken her. Not the crime. The silence. Noah had not called. Not once. Not from jail. Not through a lawyer. Not in a letter. Nothing. So when Julian asked her to marry him 10 years later, Ava said yes because some wounds eventually become rooms, and people get tired of living inside them. Her wedding dress whispered against the aisle carpet as she walked. Her hand trembled around the bouquet, but she told herself that was normal. Brides were supposed to tremble. It meant the moment mattered. Then the church doors opened. The music faltered first. Then the guests turned. Ava looked over her shoulder and felt the past return with a force so violent she nearly dropped her flowers. Noah Reed stood at the entrance. He was older. Thinner. His face carried the hard edges of a man who had spent too many nights under fluorescent lights. But his eyes were the same. Brown, tired, impossible to forget. He held a brown envelope. In his other hand was a folded document. Ava heard someone gasp. Her father stood so quickly his chair scraped against the floor. Julian went completely still. Noah stepped into the church. "No," Julian said, but his voice cracked. That crack was the first wrong thing. Ava turned toward him. "You knew he was coming?" Julian did not answer. Noah stopped halfway down the aisle. He did not smile. He did not look like a man trying to ruin a wedding for revenge. He looked like someone who had carried a truth for so long that standing upright had become painful. "Ava," he said. Her name in his voice broke something she thought had healed. "What are you doing here?" she whispered. Noah lifted the paper in his left hand. "I was released this morning." A low wave of whispers moved through the church. Released. Ava had not known. No one had told her. For years, she had convinced herself Noah was somewhere far away, locked behind decisions he had made. She had not allowed herself to ask when he would come out, because asking meant part of her still cared. Her father moved toward the aisle. "Get him out." Noah looked at him. "You have had 10 years to get me out." The church went silent again. Ava felt her pulse in her throat. Julian stepped forward. "Noah, whatever you think this is, today is not the day." Noah's eyes moved to Julian. For 1 second, Ava saw hatred there. Not loud hatred. Not wild hatred. Something colder. Something earned. "You're right," Noah said. "Today was supposed to be your reward." Julian's face tightened. Noah turned back to Ava and held out the envelope. "I did not steal from your father. I did not burn that warehouse. And I did not leave you because I stopped loving you." Ava could not move. Her father shouted, "Enough." Noah ignored him. "I took the blame because I was told it would save you." Ava looked at her father. Then at Julian. Then at the envelope. Her bouquet slipped from her hand and hit the floor. Inside the envelope was an old photograph, a bank transfer record, and one letter with her name written across the front. Ava recognized the handwriting immediately. It was Julian's. And the first line said, "If she finds out before the wedding, everything we built is over." Ava did not remember walking out of the church. One moment she was standing in the aisle with every guest watching her face collapse. The next, she was in the small bridal room behind the chapel, still wearing white, still holding Julian's letter, while 3 men stood around her like different versions of betrayal. Noah stayed near the door. Julian stood by the mirror. Her father, Richard Morgan, stood beside the window, furious in the way guilty men often become when fear enters the room. Ava unfolded the letter. Julian reached for it. "Ava, please." She stepped back. "Touch me and I will scream." He stopped. The room became so quiet she could hear the church murmuring outside the walls. Ava read. "Richard. The documents are handled." Noah signed because he thinks prison is the only way to keep Ava's name out of court. He still believes the missing money was connected to her account. He does not know I moved it. He does not know the fire erased the records I needed erased. Do not let Ava speak to him. If she sees him, he will tell her he loves her, and she will believe him. She always believes broken things can be saved. Ava's hands shook. She looked up slowly. Julian was pale. Her father closed his eyes. "No," Ava whispered. "No." Noah spoke from the doorway. "There's more." He placed another paper on the vanity. Ava stared at it. A prison visitor log. Julian's name appeared once. The week Noah was sentenced. Ava turned to Julian. "You visited him?" Julian's voice was low. "I was trying to fix it." Noah gave a humorless laugh. "You came to make sure I stayed quiet." Ava looked at Noah. "Why did you?" That question had haunted her for 10 years. Why take the blame? Why confess? Why disappear from her life without a fight? Noah's face changed. He looked younger for a second. Not because he was innocent. Because the pain had never aged. "Your father came to me the night of the fire," he said. "He said the missing money had been traced to an account with your name on it. He said if I did not confess, you would be arrested too." Ava turned to her father. Richard could not meet her eyes. Noah continued. "I thought someone had used you. I thought if I took the blame, they would leave you alone. I asked for one thing." Ava's lips parted. "What?" "To see you before I went in." The room seemed to tilt. "My father told me you refused to see me." Noah looked at Richard. "He told me you hated me." Ava pressed a hand against her chest. Richard finally spoke. "I did what I thought was necessary." "For whom?" Ava asked. For the family. She stared at him. For the company, she said. Say it correctly. He looked wounded, as if the truth had insulted him. Julian stepped forward. I was young, Ava. I made one terrible mistake. One. Her voice rose. You stole from my father's company. Julian's eyes flashed. Your father's company was already drowning. You burned the warehouse. It was an accident. You let Noah go to prison. Julian's silence answered. Ava looked at him like she was seeing his face being repainted in front of her. For 10 years, he had been the man who stayed. The man who helped her survive. The man who picked up the pieces after Noah supposedly destroyed everything. But now she understood the ugliest part. Julian had not found her after the tragedy. He had helped create it, then offered himself as shelter. That is not love, she whispered. Julian's expression broke. I did love you. Noah looked away. Ava heard the hurt in that silence. Julian took one step closer. I loved you before he did. Before you even noticed me. I watched you choose him, and I knew he would never be enough for the world you came from. So you destroyed him. I protected you from a life of struggle. Ava laughed, but tears ran down her face. You protected me from choice. Her father said her name, softer now. Ava, people will hear. She turned on him. Good. Noah moved then, but only to pick up something from the chair. A small velvet box. Ava knew it before he opened it. Inside was the ring he had bought 10 years earlier, the one she had once seen in the window of a pawn shop and joked was too beautiful for a girl who still forgot to pay parking tickets. Noah placed it on the table. I carried this into prison, he said. I was stupid enough to think truth would come faster than time. Ava could not breathe. Noah closed the box gently. I did not come to ask you to choose me. I came because you were about to marry the man who learned how easy it was to steal your life. Then he walked out before she could answer. And Ava was left in a wedding dress, standing between the man who lied for power, the man who lied for fear, and the man who lost 10 years because he loved her enough to believe the wrong people. Ava returned to the church alone. The guests were still there. Some stood. Some whispered. Some held phones low, pretending not to record. The white roses looked almost ridiculous now, beautiful decorations around something ugly enough to rot the floor beneath them. Julian followed her at a distance. Her father came after him. Noah was gone. That absence hurt more than Ava expected. For years, she had imagined what she would say if Noah ever returned. She thought she would scream. She thought she would demand an apology. She thought she would finally prove to herself that he had no power over her. Instead, he had walked in with proof that her grief had been built by other people. Ava stepped up to the altar. The priest looked unsure whether to speak. She turned toward the guests. There will be no wedding today. A sound moved through the room. Julian closed his eyes. Ava looked at him. Not because Noah came back. That made Julian open his eyes again. She continued, because the man I was about to marry helped send an innocent man to prison. Someone gasped. Her father stepped forward. Ava, stop. She turned toward him. And my father helped keep it quiet. The room exploded into whispers. Julian looked at the floor. Richard Morgan, the man who had controlled every room he entered for 30 years, suddenly looked like someone searching for an exit that no longer existed. Ava lifted Julian's letter. I do not know yet what can be proven in court. I do not know how much of my life can be repaired. But I know this, I will not stand here in white and bless a lie because it is more convenient than the truth. Her voice shook at the end, but she did not break. Julian stepped toward her. Ava, please. You and I can still. No. One word. Clean. Final. You loved me like a thief loves a locked room. His face crumpled. For one moment, Ava saw not a villain, but a man who had mistaken wanting something for deserving it. That did not make him innocent. It only made him human enough to hurt. Ava removed the engagement ring from her finger. She placed it on the altar. Then she walked out of the church. Outside, rain had started. Noah stood beneath the old stone arch, as if he had not been able to leave completely. Ava stopped in front of him. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. "I'm sorry," she said. Noah looked at her. "For believing them," she continued. "For hating you because it hurt less than missing you. For living a life where your name became something I was afraid to say." Noah's jaw tightened. "I wrote to you," he said. "Every month for the first 2 years." Ava closed her eyes. "I never got them. I know that now." Rain slid down his face, hiding what might have been tears. Ava looked at the velvet box in his hand. "Noah." He shook his head. "Not today." The words hurt, but she understood. Today was too crowded with ghosts. Too poisoned by stolen years. Too loud with everything they had lost. "I'm leaving town tomorrow," he said. Her heart dropped. "Where?" "North. I got work in a repair shop. Quiet place. No one knows my name." She nodded, even though everything inside her wanted to ask him to stay. Noah reached into his pocket and handed her an envelope. "This is the last letter I wrote before I stopped." Ava held it with both hands. "What does it say?" He looked at the church behind her, then back at her. "It says I forgive you for not saving me from something you didn't know was happening." Her face broke. He stepped back before she could reach for him. "Find your life first, Ava. If I'm still part of it after that, you'll know where to find me." Then he walked into the rain. 6 months later, Richard Morgan resigned from his company. Julian West disappeared from public life before the investigation could fully begin. Ava testified. She lost friends, money, reputation, and the version of her family she had been trained to protect. But she gained something stranger. Her own voice. 1 year after the wedding that never happened, Ava took a train north. She wore no white dress. No ring. No makeup hiding the tiredness around her eyes. In her bag was Noah's final letter, folded so many times the edges had softened. The repair shop stood at the end of a quiet street. Through the window, she saw Noah bent over an old clock, steady-handed and alone. Ava stood outside for a long time. Then she knocked. Noah looked up. The story does not end with a kiss. Not yet. It ends with him opening the door. It ends with Ava stepping inside. It ends with two people who had lost 10 years standing face to face, no longer young enough to believe love could erase the damage, but finally honest enough to begin without lies. And on the counter between them, Noah placed the old velvet box. Closed. Waiting. This time, not as a promise. As a choice.